So just a few days ago, I made a video titled Tesla stock is about to break out just 2 days ago. And when we look at the current price action for Tesla, what we see is that Tesla indeed did break out. So we had some bullish momentum. And in this video, I want to go ahead and talk about why we ended up seeing Tesla stock break out, and then talk about what are some things that we want to look forward to going next. Now, I do want to also highlight that when we take a look at the S&P 500 index ETF, ticker symbol SPY, SPY, we are seeing that we're having down days, positive days, red days, positive days, etc. However, structurally, the market is intact, right? So I know this may seem, well, okay, well, the market isn't going directionally up every single day. We're having days where we go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. But what we want to notice is that the lows are higher than the previous lows. So we're having higher lows and higher highs. And so we're pretty close to hitting new all-time highs for the market. And I think one of the things that catapulted the overall market to push up was this recent geopolitical news that we got with Trump extending the China tariffs by 90 days. Now, I know there's a lot of big signals here because at one end we heard that there weren't going to be any extensions to the deadline, but then we ended up seeing that take place. However, it is still positive because this means that we're going to have more time to have those trade negotiations take place, and that is definitely a bullish catalyst for the overall market. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that while we did indeed see Tesla stock go up to $346.64 for the day, we ended up seeing the stock kind of go back down to its 50-day exponential moving average on the 15-minute time frame. And I think one of the main reasons we ended up seeing Tesla stock kind of fall down a bit from this euphoric day was we ended up seeing top talent exit the company. For example, Piero Landolfi, right? I might be mispronouncing his name, was a director of service for Tesla, and he's leaving the company after 9 years. Now, the reason this is important is because this isn't the first, high-level employee executive leaving the company, right? We've seen multiple employees depart, and many speculate that this is likely due to concerns of Tesla stock suffering in the upcoming quarters. Now, this is all speculation, but that is probably what contributed to Tesla stock pretty much selling off in the middle of the day towards the end. However, we still closed much higher than the previous trading session. Now, one thing I do want to highlight is what Barron's said. So Barron's made this publication today, and they said one thing that might have helped shares on Monday was longer wait times for Tesla vehicles. So the company recently increased its estimated wait times for its most popular electric vehicle, being the Model Y, from 4 to 6 weeks, which is likely, a good sign, right? Because it signals more order activity, and they believe that this is because buyers are doing this last minute buying to qualify for the federal purchase tax credit, which is worth $7,500, that was eliminated by President Donald Trump back when he passed the spending bill on July 4th. And so we're seeing kind of a lot of surge of buying activity take place for Tesla. And so that's something that's positive. And that's likely what contributed to this breakout for Tesla. Now, I do want to mention that in my previous videos, I have stated, and I know this is something that some people have not been a huge fan of, that Tesla, although I did say it's very possible for it to break out, I don't think it's something that is going to sustain itself. And I said a lot of it is, due to hype of improvements with FSD. For example, we had Elon Musk make a post on X mentioning how FSD in the next month is going to have a significant improvement towards its parameters, and it's going to be able to learn at a much higher rate, which is going to likely increase the level of autonomy that it has. However, I mentioned that it wasn't likely going to jump Tesla to level 5 autonomy, so it's not something that is of huge significant news. And I know that when I say that, I have some uber Tesla zealots who say, Justin, you're not seeing the vision for Tesla. And I do want to see the vision for Tesla, but I also try to keep a very neutral approach. I don't want to just be seeing things from just a one-sided perspective. And ultimately, I do believe that Tesla can have some momentum. That's why I made that previous video talking about a breakout, but I don't think it's going to sustain itself. Now, from a technical perspective, when we look at the ADX, which is the average directional move here, index, we're seeing this curl up over here, which signals that there is some strength showing in the market, which is great. That's usually a very bullish signal. And then when we look at the directional move index, we see that pretty much there's more buying activity. Of course, you could see that just relatively just looking at the chart here. But these two together really show a very positive picture that the trend is up there. And I think the trend can sustain itself. We did see that there was some rejection around this level of $346, which was the high, but we still ultimately closed at $339, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla ended up going to $380 before possibly having some area of resistance, as this was an area of support in the past, and through the principles of polarity, previous support ends up acting as new resistance because of a psychological anchor of people who are participating in the market. Now, real quick, I often forget to mention this in my videos. Make sure to hit that like button, as it really does help out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I make countless videos talking about the overall market. I talk about Tesla stock very often as well. And I do believe that we can still see some momentum take place for Tesla, but whether the momentum sustains itself for a longer period of time really needs to depend on whether we see a large change fundamentally for Tesla. And personally, we haven't had that. Now, does that mean that can't occur? Absolutely not. We could absolutely have some breaking catalyst news that could really bring Tesla back to new all-time highs. However, the likelihood at this moment isn't there yet. Where we are from all-time highs, by the way, it's not too far off, by the way. So if we actually map out from where we kind of closed from today, roughly around this area to the highs, it's still roughly down a little under 45%. And I say under because I didn't map it out very well. So if we get it a little bit more closer to the close of today, to the high, 44.51%. So we're still down significantly from the highs that we saw back in December. Now, if anyone remembers, this was due to, of course, Trump winning the election and the idea of regulation that was going to be kind of weakened, which was a huge benefit for companies like Tesla, or a lot of major companies, as regulations often stifle, just improvements and growth. Right now, that's a whole different debate. We could talk about that in a separate video. This is not the video for that. But then, of course, once we ended up seeing the dynamic between President Trump and Elon kind of sour, we saw Tesla go right back to the areas that it was back in September. So currently, we're much higher than where we were in September, but still much lower than where we were from in December. And we would need a huge fundamental change. Of course, there's still a rabbit that could be pulled out of the hat from Elon, as he did kind of like tease us with improvements in FSD. But you guys let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on Tesla? Do you think Tesla stock is likely to continue pushing up? Or do you think that this is just a short-term rally and it's going to start to come down? Now, full disclosure, I don't have any underlying shares in Tesla currently, but I do have some call options on Tesla that I'm still holding. But with that said, hopefully you guys got some value in today's quick video, and I'll see you guys on this next video right over here. Take care, guys.